is GCSE edition. So this is the webinar where the community of King's InterHigh and get a sense of the fascinating world of King's InterHigh. Today we're going to speak all about GCSEs, exam prep, and learn how King's InterHigh supports our community with GCSE prep and beyond. I'm your host, Esther Clark. I'm the Global Head of Communications at Inspired Education Group. And I'm joined by two amazing guests, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves now. Ms. Snape, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you teach and what you do at King's InterHigh?
Of course. Hi, Esther. My name is Eva Snape. I am the Head of English here at King's InterHigh, and you probably will have seen me in your Learn lessons teaching GCSE English Literature and English Language. I also teach A-level in the Learn lessons and have a little bit of Year 7 to keep me on my toes as well. And I don't know if I have anything interesting about myself that people don't, or I'm very good at talking about myself a lot in classes. So all of my students have heard about all my children, heard about pets that have died in the past, and my catastrophic house flood, which I have spoken about at length. But it's really lovely to be with you here today.
Thanks, Ms. Snape. It's great for you to join us as well. And Millie, would you mind introducing yourself? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and anything you'd like to share at this point as an introduction.
Yeah, hi. I'm Millie. So I was a student on King's InterHigh from year 8 to year 11. I just left last year, and yeah, it was a much better form of learning for me. I'm based in Hampshire. I'm in Hampshire. And yeah, I really enjoyed my experience with this group.
Thank you. Well, lovely to meet you, Millie. And we're going to have a conversation today. Before we start, I just wanted to let the audience know that this is a webinar that's really all about you, the audience. So what we try to do is we try to find topics of interest, and the GCSE prep came up as an interesting topic for our conversation today. So let's delve right into the fascinating world of GCSEs. Just for the interest of our audience, because I know there's probably some international students joining us as well as students here in the UK. I want to let you know that what GCSE stands for. GCSE stands for the General Certificate of Secondary Education, GCSE. They're qualifications that are typically taken by students aged 14 to 16 in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And it's known in the UK as Key Stage 4. For international students, GCSEs are kind of seen as the equivalent to a high school diploma and certificates in other education systems. I think I knew GCSEs as O-levels. Ms. Snape, did you know them as O-levels in the past?
No, I am younger than I look. I took GCSEs myself. My parents would have taken O levels or ordinary levels, or as my father liked to say, proper qualifications. But no, I was a GCSE baby myself.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, so we do have an international audience here. So let's delve right into GCSEs. I'd like to hear from Millie, our student who's joined us today. Millie, what is it like studying at King's InterHigh? I know you've graduated, but what was it like studying at King's InterHigh? Can you give us just a couple of highlights, or what you would study on a typical day at school?
Well, I think the main thing for me that really singled InterHigh out was the flexibility of the school. For example, you have quite a few lessons per day because they're shorter, they're only 40 minutes long. But you also have free periods where you can either catch up on some homework or go out and do, hobbies and things that interest you as well. So that was definitely a major part of my experience. But also being able to learn in a remote environment and a place that was comfortable for me or for whoever you are is really beneficial, especially for people that learn that way in a quieter environment.
Thanks, Millie. And Ms. Snape, in terms of GCSE exam prep, when does it normally start? And what does it look like?
I like to think of GCSE exam prep as something that you begin from the very beginning of the course. In English, we sit our exams at the end of year 11, but everything that we are doing up until then is preparing you for that moment. You either sit down in the exam hall or sit in front of your computer with your remote invigilator. So everything that we are doing along that way from the beginning of your year 10 is getting you ready for that moment. And there are things that you can do to help yourself feel prepared and feel ready for that. So making sure at the end of lessons you are reviewing your learning. If there are things that you haven't quite understood, feeling, reaching out to your Explore teachers, who will always be there at the end of an email or in the Q&A to support you if there are things that you don't understand, and just keeping on top of your work little and often when it comes to revision is really, really the best way that you can succeed in your GCSEs. Having said that, if you are someone who, like me, I was a terrible person to leave things to the last minute when I was a student. It's something I've tried to really work on as an adult, but as a child, it was something that I did do a lot of the time. It is not, it is not a disaster if you haven't been working on those little steps along the way. And if you are in year 11 listening to this now, you can think about actually what you know, what you need to know, and start putting together a little bit of a plan to help you move forward from this moment. It is never too late to put a decent plan in place. So I think just making sure that you know what texts are going to be in your exams and that you know them really, really well is your very best first step. I have lots and lots of tips and steps and things that I can talk about, but as a kind of first step, if you're in year 10 and you are reading these texts for the first time, take this opportunity to get to know them really, really well. If you're in year 11 and you're preparing for those final GCSEs, making sure that you are rereading those key texts, you know what the key texts are, and you know where they fall in terms of the exams is the best thing you can do, really, to have yourself ready to sit down in that exam hall, or as I say, at your computer if you're doing it remotely, and feel really, really confident. So knowing your key text really well and being organized and being prepared to kind of go over your learning is the key, I would say.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. And I'd love to hear more tips. As a parent of 3 children myself, I'd love to hear more tips from you, Ms. Snape. Millie, in terms of your exam prep, did you follow some of the steps that Ms. Snape has described in terms of preparing ahead of time and looking at the text, or what was your exam preparation like?
Yeah, I think Ms. Snape made a great point about planning and identifying the areas that you don't know, especially for something like English, perhaps something like maths or biology, perhaps that's even more important, but for English as well, some people forget about that. And knowing kind of all the key acts of the plays, or also working on your essay writing skills, perhaps. Although that is probably more important for A-level, also for GCSEs, you need to understand the mark scheme can be really helpful to understand what they actually want you to write about, and what the questions are asking. For English, I did do a lot of learning the content, and kind of blurting and actively recalling the things I knew and that I didn't. And then I ended up doing a few practice essays. But I think revise up to the point where you feel confident and understand what techniques work for you. But yeah, I'm a memorizer, so I did a lot of memorizing the things that I knew and didn't.
Thank you. I love that comment you made about confidence, because I think when you do the prep, then you are confident that you know your stuff going into the exams. Just out of interest and for the audience, what GCSEs did you take, Millie, in particular? What did you take for your GCSEs last year?
I took 8 in total, but last year I only took 7 because I did German a year early. And yeah, I took English, Lit Lang, maths, biology, film studies, history, and then music outside of King's InterHigh. Yeah.
And you mentioned about memorization. And do you think that that's the best kind of strategy to revise subject and prepare, or were there other strategies you used? And of course, I'm sure it'll be different for each student, but just in your personal experience, Millie, like what was the best strategy to revise subjects and prepare for your exams?
I think it really depends on the subject and also how your brain works. For something like English in particular, or history as well, I think memorization is really important. If you can memorize, really good sentences or really good kind of concepts that link to themes or quotes that link to characters, that's going to really help you in the exams. Whereas something like maths or biology, I went up about 3 grades for my mock, and that was just from practice questions and practice. I just did so many, and past papers is useful for that. But for English, definitely know the content, make sure you know quotes that link to themes. I focus a lot on themes and kind of a bit on characters too. But yeah.
Is some of the comments that Millie is talking about resonate with you, like in terms of your experience teaching students at King's InterHigh?
Absolutely. You probably saw me nodding away there like some kind of mad nodding dog. I completely agree. The idea of memory is so crucial, and there are various things that we can do to commit knowledge that we need to our long-term memory. So for example, we say we need to know these texts inside out and you need to memorize, but actually one of the best ways that you can commit knowledge to long-term memory is through testing yourself. And there's a lot of research. I'm not going to pretend that I have it at my fingertips here, but there is a lot of research that suggests that actually if you want to commit knowledge to long-term memory, testing yourself on it will be the thing to do, to kind of put it there. And you want this knowledge to be in your long-term memory so that when you go into the exam, it is things that it's something that you can pluck easily from your brain, from your memory. So testing yourselves maybe with short answer questions or multiple choice quizzes is a really, really good way to do that. You can perhaps create your own. We have lots on the platform, particularly if you're in year 10. We have all of our discovery quizzes are quizzes that you can take multiple times. So if you want to test your knowledge that way, you are welcome to do so. But you also want to make sure you're spacing your testing over time so that you're not kind of learning one subject, testing yourself on it, getting 100% and moving on. You want to keep topping up that memory by repeatedly quizzing and repeatedly testing yourself. Another really good way to commit knowledge to long-term memory is to teach someone else. So you can teach your mum and dad, teach your dog, teach your cat if you really want, teach a small sibling. Anyone who has listening ears, if you can take your knowledge and explain it in a way that makes sense to somebody else, then you are also teaching yourself again, and you are also committing that knowledge to long-term memory. So that's another really nice way that you can go about doing those, or doing that important memorizing work that Millie was talking about so eloquently. There are other things that you can do. So if you don't have an interested pair of ears available, you could perhaps do a just a minute challenge. So pick a topic that you're revising and challenge yourself to talk on it for a full minute. Those Radio 4 listeners among us will be familiar with the format of the just a minute challenge. But if you can talk about something with no hesitations, pauses or repetitions for a minute, then chances are you probably know it quite well. And that's a really good way to kind of go about revising those subjects. If you are listening to this and thinking this is great, but I can't, I don't know, I'm going to forget all of these things. If you are in year 10 or year 11, we have all of our revision strategies on the English learning platform in a file called Revision Strategies Guide, which is very original, but hopefully makes it easier for you to go and find it. So if any of the things I'm talking about resonates with any of your listeners today, then they hopefully should be able to find those on the learning platform.
That's excellent, and I love you. I love that you've described the resources that King's InterHigh has available for students. In terms of support in a pastoral sense, like I know as a parent that my children and most children I know have a certain amount of anxiety and stress when it comes to exams. What kind of support does King's InterHigh provide in terms of pastoral support? So beyond just preparing for the exams, but also preparing mentally for the exams.
Sorry, is that a question for me or for Millie?
Yeah, it's for you. Yeah,
thanks. For me, okay. Just checking. That's fine. You rest up, Millie. Well, we have our Reflect tutors who our students meet with once a week, and they are always there and ready to support you one-to-one if you need it. So if you're thinking, gosh, I'm really feeling the stress this week, you can let your tutor know, and they will be happy to sit and support you for a one-to-one session during that 40-minute period. Your Explore teachers will also be available. So if there are struggles, if you're thinking, goodness me, I really can't cope with this particular task and I need to talk it through with an adult, you are always more than welcome to reach out to your Explore teachers or reach out to the heads of subject who will be able to support you. But we also try to, in our sessions, try to support students in learning to learn. So we try to teach our students strategies, in order to make revision a bit more stress-free, because actually it in itself is a huge skill, being able, saying go and revise. I mean, I was a GCSE student in the early noughties, and I remember my teachers saying, oh, you need to revise. And actually what that looks like is huge and something that needs to be taught. So that's, again, something we try to integrate into our courses so that students have an idea of how they can go about completing this really difficult revision. But if you are feeling overwhelmed by that, we as teachers want to hear about it, and we want to be able to support you. We regularly have conversations with parents about students who may be struggling with particular things, and we make changes to either our expectations of what they're submitting, or we put scaffolding in place in order to help students to meet our expectations, in order to allow them to go into the GCSE, as I say, feeling that confidence that we would hope for them. But the number one message is, please, please, please don't ever feel that you must suffer in silence. Even if you've missed 10 apply tasks and you're thinking, I can't say anything to my teacher because they're going to be really annoyed with me, we will never be annoyed. We will always be happy that our students feel they can reach out. And even if as I say, if you're really behind, we work with students all the time to put plans in place to help students to catch up. It's never the expectation that we say, well, you've missed work, that's your fault, that's the end of it, and good luck to you. That will never happen. So please do feel that you can speak to your teachers if you need to, because we do understand, and it is our bread and butter, and we want to support our students as much as we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Music to my ears, actually. Millie, over to you. I was just wondering, because you took quite a few GCSE exams. You said German the year prior. And in terms of sort of the stress or anxiety, did you feel or experience any of that? Or was there anything else that you wanted to elaborate on in terms of studying at King's InterHigh and studying in kind of the comfort of your home and remotely? Because you did mention that at the beginning as something quite positive. If you don't mind commenting on kind of your study environment and perhaps how you were able to make it work for you.
Well, in terms of stress and anxiety, yeah, like every other student, pretty much. I was very stressed, but I think something that helps me a lot, because I'm autistic, if anyone didn't know, well, probably not, but something that helps me is really feeling in control of what I'm doing. So with stress and anxiety, it actually helped me to kind of sit down, really plan out what I was going to do and make sure I was following a plan. And once I felt like confident and in control, I feel like that helped me on the exam days and achieving and kind of staying relaxed. And in terms of my work environment, I mean, that's my whiteboard over there. I used that a lot with blurting to kind of memorize content, where I just write down everything I knew and then fill in things that I didn't know. And I do that like daily. And compared to my old secondary school, Thorndon, it was very stressful, very big. There were strikes, detentions. I feel like with InterHigh, something that I'm really grateful for was how supportive the teachers were. It really did make a massive difference for me, I'm sure for many other students. When I have my cats, I my cats often worked with me in the room, and it was peaceful, and I could kind of focus and get a lot more done without distractions. And I would say it does take a lot of self-discipline. Like in year 8 and 9, I did go on my phone a little bit, but with GCSEs, like if you're motivated and you discipline yourself, you will achieve and you can stay focused. So I think that's what the environment gave me.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing your experience. I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon the webinar, but I wanted to ask for some parting words from you, Millie, in terms of what, it could be a few things. What are you most proud of with GCSEs at King's InterHigh? And your experience with GCSEs in general? What are you most proud of?
I'm quite proud of my results. I got full marks in English Literature, the highest mark. And I got 9s in all my other GCSEs apart from maths. I got an 8. So I'm very proud of that because in year 10, I never would have thought I would have achieved that. So I'm really grateful that InterHigh allowed me to, get that and put the time in. And yeah, I think most of the things I said before, the support from the teachers, I think it's just great. The school is great if you love learning this way and you're right for this kind of style of learning. And I think that's really important. And with GCSE tips, I think definitely find out what works for you. If you've only got a few months left till your exams, definitely take a whole day or a whole morning just to do a detailed plan and follow it. And definitely identify the areas you need to work on, but just don't put too much pressure on yourself because honestly, you know more than you think. Like when you get to the exam day, suddenly things start kind of clicking into place. You understand. You've seen the papers before. I'm sure the teachers go through them, and you'll do better than you think often. So.
Thank you. Really savvy advice. I love that. And we are very, very proud of you, Millie. Just wanted to let you know from King's InterHigh and Inspired Education Group, we're so proud of your results and also what you've accomplished as a young person. So thank you. Over to you, Ms. Snape, in terms of any last words of wisdom or parting advice before we close the webinar.
Of course, and just to echo that, we are so incredibly proud of you, Millie. Highest in the world. Who else can say that? It's incredible. I think really the final thoughts I would leave people with thinking about revision is making sure that you're being structured. So plan your revision. So be active in planning your revision. It's not just going to happen. You do need to make sure you are planning for it. You want to make sure, talking of sort of being active, you're not just reading. You're not just reading your notes. Engage with your learning. Test yourself. Test other people. Get other people to test you. And being active in how you go about prepping will be the key to being successful. Do also be reflective, be honest with yourself, track your strengths, track your weaknesses. It can be really tempting just to read over the bits that you're really confident in because it gives you that little buzz like, oh, I know this really well. But actually be honest with yourself about the bits that you find tricky and try to make sure that you dedicate time to addressing those areas of weakness. And if you need a bit of support with doing so, reach out to your teachers because we love to support our students. We love to help our students. So we want to hear from you. But finally, and probably most importantly, be consistent. So revise little and often where possible, rather than cramming in the last minute and making yourself really, really stressed. Little and often will help you dedicate all that lovely knowledge to your long-term memory and will leave you being serene as you enter the exam hall, or if not serene, feeling at least like you're in control.
Thank you, Ms. Snape. That's fantastic. And thank you, Millie, as well for participating in this webinar. I want to say a special thanks to the people behind the scenes that make this happen. Mariana and David, thank you so much for coordinating this webinar today. And to you, of course, our great audience, we hope that you found this webinar interesting. Please get in touch with our friendly admissions team if you're considering King's InterHigh as a choice for your GCSEs going forward. You can also find a load of information on our website at kingsinterhigh.co.uk. Thanks again, and we will see you again at the next webinar. Thank you. The event is now over. Thanks.